Going live, going live, going live.
There he is.
There he is. We are live on YouTube with none other than the great Christian McBride, y'all. That's video evidence right now, too.
What it do?
How you doing?
McBride, y'all. My Prince Purple Rain look.
Exactly.
All is well, my man. It's great to see you.
It's great to see you too. Man, I've been seeing a lot of you, but it's all been behind the screen, unfortunately. But I'll take what I can get, until we can get back to the in-person hang. Thank you so much for doing this virtual hang. And I just wanted to thanks everybody for being here. We got a bunch of people on YouTube. We're on the Open Studio YouTube. Good evening, everybody. Thanks for hanging out. And I just wanted to do a quick intro, if that's all right, Christian.
It's your show, baby. You do what you want.
No, we're hanging with you, and I know everybody knows you, but I had, I always feel like I know you better than everybody, and then I'll meet somebody else that's like, I know Christian. Like everybody knows you, even people that haven't met you, like your fans. You've got that sound, you've got that warmth, you got the radio voice, you've got so much, and I always tell people, I'm like, no, that's really the way he is. I think you're going to see that tonight. That's just who you are. So I'm always excited to just, bask in your presence and your hang, because it's always a lot of fun. But I just wanted to do a quick little intro. Did a little research today because we're in a pandemic here in St. Louis. I heard you guys are up there as well. Is that true?
Yeah. Just us and you.
That's right.
Everybody else is cool.
I've had a little bit of time to research, but Christian has played with everybody, but I like to think about the different categories. And I don't know if we've even talked about this, Christian. You can let me know what you think about this, but I've got who you've played with. And then we're going to talk about like kind of your bands and your music, but the whole, who you've played with. I've broken into 4 groups. Okay. We got the legends. All right. Now this one's indisputable. So we got, Freddie Hubbard, Joe Henderson, Ray Brown. And then within the legends, what I like to call the trilogy or the Trinity, McCoy Tyner, Chick Corea, and Herbie Hancock, because that's kind of my personal 3, my biggest influence. And you've played with, all 3 of them a lot. And then a bunch of other legends, of course, too. And then the next category I have, that you've worked with a lot over the years and made incredible recordings and just memorable performances is our contemporaries that, what we used to call the young lions, the aging cubs now. Roy Hargrove, Josh Redman, Jazz Futures. A whole group of young lions.
That's right.
But you've been so instrumental in being the backbone of your contemporaries and creating what this music, the next level of what it is in the lineage of it, while playing with these other groups. Okay, now we're going to get into some controversial other groups. The next one I have is called is The Others. This is like, your Kathleen Battle, your Sting, the Roots, Queen Latifah, Edgar Meyer, any of the classical stuff that you've done like that, I would put in your other category.
Okay.
But I like to point that out because that's been some of your most interesting work. And I know a lot of the, the hardcore jazz heads might not have heard that. And it's such an exciting area. I would put the DJing in there possibly too, but I would just say that if nothing else tonight, you can see the different facets of Christian. It's fun to do a deep dive because there's a lot of different places it goes. And then the 4th group I have is probably the most important, which is like your bands. And I was thinking about this because I saw them in real time and have been able to be a part of even some of them. Like it seems like it just started, but man, the list is getting long. Okay.
Right.
The going backwards, maybe New John, Situation, Big Band, the CMB, which is that the longest one? That felt like it was the longest.
Up until Inside Straight, it was the longest.
Okay. Inside Straight. All right, gotcha. Yeah. And then the original quartet, Tim Warfield.
That's right.
Craig, let's talk about that. We're going to get into all that. Carl Allen. So, I think that as much as you've been known as a supporting cast member with the legends and your contemporaries, I think with your bands and putting your music out there. That's been a huge part about it. And then, I mean, I could speak the whole hour to do the intro, so I'm gonna jump over some things. But you as a composer, you've always been a great composer, and even some classics already that Shade of the Cedar Tree, and then the extended works, the big band arrangements, Movement Revisited, which is I know you wrote a while ago, but it's just been recently released.
Right.
And then one area I just want to point everybody to that has been really exciting for me during this kind of lockdown period, I just really fully discovered, is you as a writer. You're an amazing writer. And there's 3 things I want to point out to people. And we're going to put links down below. So,
oh boy,
folks, when they have a chance. But you did a post on Stevie Wonder today for his 70th birthday on Instagram.
Yeah.
And, you captured, just my feeling. And I think so beautifully with the English language without even your bass, man. And, I encourage everyone, we'll link below so that you can go read it. But I'll just say that the last line was, he, just like Sir Duke, has always filtered the pain and anger of our lives through a lens of hope, optimism, and grace. Thank you, Stevie. Some beautiful words, Christian. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, brother.
Yeah, man. And so there was that. And then your blog post on McCoy Tyner, your extended blog post, about a month ago,
right,
was wonderful. And I've been telling folks about that. And it meant so much to so many of us that, McCoy is all of our musical fathers. And we always think as pianists, he's ours alone, but he was everybody's. And it was so poignant in the photographs and the reminiscing of playing with him, and the Philadelphia and the different generations separating you. Beautiful stuff. And then the third thing that I read of yours was your piece in The Nation. In the the coronavirus has imposed a fermata on the music world. And I love titles of pieces that send the masses to have to go look up one word that only we know.
That's right.
We usually have to look up other people.
They're like, affirmata? What's affirmata?
I'm sure you got a call from the editor like, no, we got to fix that word.
That's right.
But for folks that haven't read that, we'll link to that too. It's a really acute observations and beautiful writing on this time that we find ourselves in, and I think it's, very edifying for all of us. And then, all the other stuff, artistic director of Newport Jazz Festival, Jazz Aspen Snowmass, blah, 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 6 Grammys, blottity, blottity, blottity. Christian McBride, y'all.
My man, Pedro Martinez.
So,
you're a bad dude, man. So now, do I get to? I know this is your show, but do I now get to dote over you?
No, because we have to. You have to bring me on one of your other ones, and then we'll do that.
Hey, well, I will say this, that daggone, man, you and I met 33 years ago, bro.
That's right, 33 years.
33 years ago, and to see what you've accomplished in your career, man, I think one of the things I love most about you, Peter, is that you are exactly the same dude you were in 1987, man. You haven't let success go to your head. All that stuff you just said about me, you could be looking into a mirror, my friend.
No,
you got them 4 categories. see, you got a 5th one because you got businessman on yours.
Businessman. Oh, you got that too? You got that too.
See, you are Open Studio.
Right. No, but you got that too. Okay, this is good. I got a bunch of stories, and then it's great. It's great as we talk, and I remember new ones. I remember when we were like on the road. I mean, it had to have been early 90s, maybe mid 90s, but you were the first like jazz musician or any musician that I'd been around my age. I remember you had Money magazine. You like brought it on the plane, man. We were all like maybe Sports Illustrated or something.
That was because of Carl Allen.
Oh, okay. Right. Of course.
Carl made me buy those magazines.
Right. But I was just impressed. I was like, wow, not only does he have money, but he actually is learning about what to do with it. That's like 2 things I didn't know.
But I never learned. I just had it for show. And so Carl wouldn't bother me no more.
Right. Oh, man. Yeah, 33 years. That was the calculation I came up with too. Yeah. And we were in preschool, which is crazy because you're 39 now and I'm 42. Isn't
that something?
Actually, what you said, man, thank you. But I got to tell everybody this exactly the same for you. You are exactly the same as when I first met you. Can I tell the story about how we met? real quick.
Please.
And then you can feel free to jump in and correct, because I don't know if I've done improvisation over the years, but I feel like I got it pretty close. So 33 years ago, we both kind of met through Wynton Marsalis, which I think a lot of our generation ended up doing at some point, not even whether we realized it or not. We kind of directly met because he connected us. But I was telling somebody recently, I'm like, Wynton was like the internet before the internet. He's the one who he was like the World Wide Web for young jazz musicians.
Totally.
Yeah, but I had a gig for like a scholarship thing that I got in Washington, D.C. And they were like, if you have a trio, you can bring your trio with you. And I was like, well, I don't have a trio, and I'm in St. Louis. The gig is in Washington. So Wynton was the most connected person I knew, and I had his number because, as he would do, he'd go around and meet musicians, and he'd give you his phone number,
Right.
And so I called up Wynton, and I was like, man, I'm looking for a bass player and a drummer. I was like, actually, I think I might have a drummer, Dave Berger, he said he would drive up to do the gig. But I was like, I need a bass player in DC for this gig. And he was like, oh man, I know the perfect guy. You got to call Chris McBride. Here's his phone number. And so I called you, and I was so nervous. I mean, I was like nervous doing everything back then, it was because I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know anything. And so I called, and I think your mom answered. I can't remember. Yes. I think your mom did answer, right? And she's like, hello. And I'm like, hello, can I speak with Mr. McBride? And, she's like, who? And I said, Mr. Chris McBride. Oh, hold on a second. She's like, Chris. And you come to the phone, and, you're 14. I think you were 14 years old, 15, maybe.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I was 14 still.
14, right.
Yep.
And I was all of 16. I was so mature, and but you came to the phone, and you were just like now. You were like, hello, like, what's up? And so I was like, oh, hello. My name's Peter Martin, and Wynton Marsalis gave me your I mean, I must sound like a nervous man. I was like, please, because I thought you were like 40 or I had no idea. I'm like, Wynton Marsalis recommended you as a bass player, so I knew you were something. And I said, I have this gig at the Kennedy Center for this performance. I was wondering if you could do it. Wynton Marsalis highly recommended you on such date. And you were like, yeah, hold on a second. Hey, Mom, can I do a gig on May 2nd? And I was like, wow, this guy lives with his mom. That's kind of weird. Oh, well. But we did the gig, and that's how we met. So I'm so grateful. Thank you, Wynton.
And that's right. And you know what else I remember? That gig was in June, I believe. Is that right? It was right. Was it before you graduated or right after?
It was right after. It was like a week after or something.
And so I had just had my birthday right before we came to DC. So then I was all of 15 when I played the gig with you. But I remember when. Well, so here's the other part of the story. You called the first time you called. I wasn't home. And you talked to my mother. You left a message, and so when I got home, my mother totally like she kind of got the message mixed up. She's like, "Wynton Marsalis' piano player just called here." I was like, "Marcus Roberts just called here? Whoa!" And his name is Peter. I was like, "No, that ain't." She's like, but he said Wynton Marsalis gave him your number. He must be good if Wynton gave him your number. And and so then that's when we finally hooked up. But I didn't know either. I was like, who's Peter Martin? I said, well, if he's getting it was a presidential scholar, right?
Right.
I was like, presidential scholar. Okay, well, he must not be that old. All right. And,
so we both thought each other was like an adult, basically.
Right. And now it's interesting because you remember you came to Philly, but you came to Philly so we could meet. Is that why you were there?
I think
so, right?
When we saw Wynton, that was like a couple days later.
Was it? Yes, it was. That's right. It was after that. After that. And you came to Philly. We hung out for like a day or two. You met Joey. Was that the first time you met Joey?
Yep.
And Wynton played with his quintet. I think Todd Williams had been on the gig for like a month, maybe.
Right, exactly.
And I just remember bonding with you, man. I just remember you being real, real cool. I remember my grandma kicking me, you, and Todd out of my bedroom.
That's right.
We were in there listening to records.
Yep.
And she's like, "It's too late. Y'all got to sew that up." I was like, "Oh, come on, Grandma." And then you went to Juilliard.
Yep.
And I remember us keeping in touch.
Yep.
And when I started my senior year, I wanted to go to Juilliard. So you were like my number one reference point. I was like, so what's happening up there, bro?
Right.
What are they doing?
Yeah.
And then you and I had similar stories because I graduated high school. He was like, "Yo, I'm out."
I know. I was trying.
I was like, "No, wait for me, bro. I'm on my way."
Right.
And now look at us, man.
I know. A couple Juilliard dropouts here, you know.
That's right.
Man, so what have you been up to during this strange period? I was looking at my calendar. I don't know about you, but like I left in my calendar all the touring gigs for the last couple of months in. And so like just coming up, we were supposed to be on the road in a couple of days.
That's right.
And I kind of left them. I should take them out because I get sad when I see it, but I know they're going to happen sometime. So it's something good to look forward to. But what do you think about this time period?
Oh man, you know, you and I both are very much glass half full kind of guys. So, you know, I'm looking at what opportunities can be created in the middle of all of this. Although it's a challenge, it's a real challenge. You know, Melissa and I have Jazz House Kids, and so it's been the biggest challenge, you know, moving everything online, you know, all the ensemble classes, everything, you know, like you said, life is Zoom now, you know.
I know.
What do you call those glasses that you got?
Oh, the blue light glasses.
Yeah, the blue light glasses. Yeah, I badly need those, man. Because I mean, I'm living my life on Zoom, like, you know, 10 hours a day. Somebody always wants to Zoom about something. So between Jazz House Kids, and I've been doing some weekly chats for the Newport Jazz Festival, social media, as well as Jazz House Kids every Friday, and all kinds of little stuff in between.
Yep. Yeah, I mean,
and still doing Jazz Night in America. I got my whole radio set up here in the crib. So.
Oh, nice.
Oh man, I got. So, you know, every week I'm in here recording scripts.
Right. That's awesome. And so that's audio only.
So now I call this this is NPR's Montclair headquarters.
That's great. Well, it's like all the big time broadcasters are at home, you know. Whoopi Gold, my wife's watching The View every day. And she's always like, "Oh, I think they're back in the studio." I was like, "That's the Zoom background. That's all that."
Right.
She just has the upgraded version of it, you know.
Right.
Man. Oh man, that's great. So,
what about you, man? I mean, all of us are trying to figure out. I mean, you know, look, when I think of how this really affects musicians, I mean, you know, I think you and I are fortunate. You know, we have some non-gig things that can, you know, pull us along. But, you know, I think real hard about the cats who make their lives gigging, and now they can't do that, you know.
Right.
But I mean, I know you've been doing a lot of stuff on Open Studio, and I bet you've been writing a lot too.
I've been writing a lot and just practicing a lot. I was like, man,
it feels good to share it again, right?
It does feel good. It's like, yeah, and I don't know about you, but like for me, I guess I was always like practicing and playing a lot, but it was always it's always, you know, you get in that thing where it's for a gig or you're writing, but it's for a commission or an arrangement.
Something specific. Yeah,
which is great. But just to be able to be like, whoa, I'm going to get to all this stuff that I've been holding to the side, you know.
That's right.
But it's also pressure. It's like, oh, now you have the time. What are you going to do?
Are you really going to do it? That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
But I think
I turned back the clock, man. I went back to some of that stuff. Some of that stuff I was playing at Juilliard. Yeah, so I've been breaking out the old bow.
Nice.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, well, that's what's up. Yeah, I think too, what's been, yeah, I'm definitely, you hit the nail on the head. Half glass is half full. I think that's kind of why we bond. We were too young and dumb to know it at the time,
Right.
but that might have been why we bonded early on without even talking about it.
Yeah. Big
Um, but also like I've been very inspired by so many musicians that have this attitude of like, I want to take this time to grow, you know.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I just didn't, I mean, that's inspired me to really step up my game, because we had so many people, because at Open Studio we were already kind of set up for this. We had an advantage, but we were just like, oh my God, nobody's gonna want to, like, people are gonna be talking about, I don't have a job, I got to, my kids are at home, I got it homes. I mean, life is such an upheaval. And then of course every musician, I mean, every gig is canceled everywhere in the world. It's never happened. So all the musicians that we know and we don't know all of a sudden had nothing to do. But we had so many people reaching out to us, and we're like, man, I want to get the Christian McBride course. I've been wanting to do it, but I just didn't have time. And then they're like, we don't have any money, but I want to do the thing. So we've just been hooking people up because we, like we figured, okay, let's just be of service. But it really has inspired me how many serious musicians at all different levels there all are around the world. And I love that people, I mean, I'll veg out on Netflix a little bit, but then I think about all the people that are like, man, can I please get this course? Because I want to share. I'm like, man, that's what's up. To have that kind of growth mentality is amazing.
Yeah, man. My real true goal is to be a better player once this is over.
Well, I mean, now you're gonna have some people on here, myself included. They're gonna be like that. I don't know how that's gonna be possible, but that'll be exciting to see now. See.
Let's hope I can pull it off.
Yeah. Now, how do you think, I mean, do you think that this, I mean, obviously we don't know how long this is going to go on and what's happening, but like in terms of the overall trajectory of jazz and just kind of creative music in general, like where do you see this? Do you see this as kind of a pause and a fermata? And like, you kind of got into this a little bit in the Nation article, but like, what do you see? What do you see this going?
Well, when the fermata specifically is with regards to going out and playing, like performing in clubs and theaters and in public spaces. The fermata is definitely not over the ability to shed, Right. So I'm actually very, very curious to see what we artists come up with, because like we've been saying, now is the time to really try to better yourself. Now is the time to really shed and get into some ideas, and you just keep them wrapped up, and then when we're able to go back out there in the world, whenever that'll be, I don't know. There could be some amazing new things on the horizon, or at least some very different and fresh sounding things. I mean, but then again, I try to think of what it's going to feel like the first time you hear live music again. I think it's going to be such a tremendous feeling. It almost might not matter what style of music it is. You see somebody playing an instrument and hear some sound coming out, you're just going to be like, oh, we're back,
Yeah.
So, I look forward to seeing what kind of comes out of this. I think of good things that come out of a crisis.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
So that's a long way of saying I don't really know what's going to happen, like where this is going musically, but I predict it'll be somewhere really good and something positive.
That's great, man. I totally agree. And I think about, somebody like you, Christian, talking about you're taking this time to improve. And, I've talked to other great musicians, and that puts on my mind is like, whoa, okay. I just got to the point where I can kind of hang with you for a week at the Vanguard. If I prepare well, take my matcha tea to get my brain right, to get my supplements, work out the right time. No, but I mean, it's like, I think that there is a little bit of good pressure among all, because, we all talk and whatever. And then when you hear, I mean, like I'm talking to Hutch a lot, especially, Greg Hutch said at the beginning, because he was really isolated in Italy. And his whole thing was like, man, when I got it, he's like, when we get out of this, man, I'm coming for y'all. I mean, so I think that, yeah, it's going to be exciting. And then, I want to be ready. Because
that's
I think this thing too, what you're saying, like when people hear something live, and like people are actually in some ways here. I mean, there's so many streams going on now and stuff. So some people are even more in tune to the music, but once it happens live, they're almost going to be better prepared as listeners than ever.
That's right.
I think we'll be better prepared as players. And then the moment's going to make it special because it's like, you always appreciate something so much more,
Yeah. Has this been the longest you've gone without playing with other people?
Absolutely. Yeah. I was trying to think back. I mean, I don't even know any time, because even when I was little, I'm playing with my parent, we had music in the house. So I don't know that there's ever been a time since I was like playing the piano at age 2 or 3 or whatever. What about you?
Totally. I mean, the last time I stood next to somebody and made some music, well, other than Melissa, was Brian, because I was in Europe with Chick and Brian Blade. And so I think our last gig was on March 12th before we had to come back home. So it's been exactly 2 months,
Right.
And I can't wait till the next time I can feel that ride cymbal to the left of my body,
I know.
and that piano coming from this side.
Yep. Yeah, I think for me it was like the 8th. Yeah, because I remember we were texting on the 11th. I was supposed to come over to Europe, and I think you kind of sent me you kind of a foreboding thing, because I was like, yeah, I'm coming over tomorrow, and you're like, maybe you did one of your Christian. I'm not sure if that glass is half full or half empty.
Yeah. Same thing. I think Joshua was on his way over to Europe as well, and his stuff got canceled. So yeah.
Yeah, because I was in like 2 days, but on the 8th, it was the last day I played. It's funny how the way you put it is exactly the way I feel it. It's like, when's the last time you played music with other human beings?
Yeah.
I think it was on the 8th, 2 days before in New Orleans. I did a gig and recording session with Ruben Rogers, Jeff Clapp, and Nicholas Payton.
Oh.
And we were like, and I was just looking at, we did a picture out but it was a funny day because it was the first day. I remember we had been in there recording some stuff, and Nick came in, and he kind of came in the piano room, and I got up. I was like, "What's up, man?" And we both looked at each other, and he was like, "I don't know. Do we hug still, or do we?" We were like, "Come on, let's do it." I think that was the last non-quarantine person. I mean, no person outside of my house I've hugged too.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
So fast. But I was looking at a picture of us in the parking lot of the studio after. We had such a fun time that day. But it's like, man, you remember and appreciate that, like you said, that symbol of Blade and that,
Yeah,
and
man.
Then, it's a memory.
That basic stuff you can you can take for granted. Just like hugging people, shaking people's hand.
Yep.
Can't do that now. But at the same token, by the same token, I'm because it really seems like all of the health and science experts, I mean, this is proven to have nobody really knows what this is 100%.
Right.
So there's 2 ways people are going about it. Like, well, if they don't really know what it is, I'm just going to go out and just do my thing.
Right.
I'm the other side. I'm like, well, if they don't know what it is, let me hang back and be cool until they figure out what it is. Cause I'm not in the rolling the dice. I love the song Luck Be a Lady, but I'm not applying it to Rona.
Right. My Sharona. The Rona.
Oh man.
No,
my
totally.
man, Pedro.
Totally. So I think, I was just thinking too, it's like, shake someone. I mean, as musicians, especially traveling all around the world and meeting people, we were probably doing way too much shaking hands of random people anyway, Corona or not. I mean, if you think about it, I don't think that's ever going to be the same, where it's just going to be like randomly you meet somebody, what's up?
It's going to be a lot of this now.
Yeah, exactly. There's going to be new things. Even
what's
that,
up,
you can't do that. Yeah. Remember, you can't do that now, man. You do that, you better be in at least the household, right.
It's
been over a lot.
Well, as long as you got your mask on, it can't be like.
Right. And I'm wondering too, it's interesting because the closest, and it is funny because the playing with other people is you realize how important. I did a thing at the Sheldon Concert Hall, which is a venue here. Actually, Christian and I played a few years ago, a really fun duo concert.
That was
that was a fun time.
And then we did that thing with Branford with the quartet.
Right. Ulysses, Branford.
That was awesome.
Branford was vibing. We'll talk about that another time. Big shout out to Branford. Yeah, but Branford was killing too. Branford was killing.
Yes, he was.
But that, so I went on, they asked me to come there last Saturday, just this past Saturday, and play, and we did some recording. They had some stuff set up because they were kind of announcing them. Yeah, and so like that was the first time I was in a venue. Yeah. And it was weird, you know. I mean, it was just like 3 other people there. Dan was there, the new guy, everyone had masks on, you know, the sound was separate, everything. I just did a couple solo piano songs, obviously no audience, but it was a nice kind of like, okay, things are gonna, it was that first little bit of step, you know, for me at least still. But without playing with the big step is gonna be when you play with somebody else, even if you're kind of separate, I think. Yeah,
well, you know, thanks to you, I think the next time I'm going to play my bass outside of my house will be pretty soon.
Ooh,
because
we ready to announce that?
You might as well. Well, I'm putting together the next open studio lesson series for you.
That's right. We're affectionately calling it V2, which has kind of a space age, you know.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. I like it.
Yeah, I'm so excited for that. And yeah, we think we're going to be able to do it we're definitely going to do it very safely, but we think we're going to be able to do it soon. And obviously we have a master of the solo bass here, so that's not going to be a problem.
Where?
For social distance. I mean, you can't social distance from your bass. As long as you're cool with that, you'll be able to social distance from everybody else.
That's right.
Yeah, and I can't tell you, Chris, I mean, I've told you before, but I just want to say to everybody, I know people will chime in, like how much meaning, you know, having been through this and doing a lot of lessons too over the years, and you did your wonderful course, you know, we go in and record those and we move on to the next gig and we move on, and we don't have that face-to-face thing like if you get a chance to work with, and I mean, I know young bass players, Hannah Marks, I saw her at the Betty Carter thing, and she told me the story about in high school when she met you. I mean, like you basically changed her life in one workshop.
Really?
You know? I mean, yeah, she was like, you said something like you should play acoustic, and she said like, well, I'm so little, and you were like, that doesn't matter, you're good, or you know. She remembered the exact words, and now she's like a killing, you know, young on the scene.
Yeah, Hannah's killing it.
Yeah, and so it's like when we're in person, you get that, but when we make the videos and the courses, but I mean, like it has an impact on people like you wouldn't believe. We get the emails and we get the feedback. So
I'm glad to hear that, man. I'm glad to hear that. And you know, I really I struggled with it for a long time because I realized that oftentimes when you're playing and you're performing, that's different than teaching. You know, to kind of take what you're doing and put it out comprehensively so other people can understand it, you know?
Yeah.
So I've always shied away from, you know, I'd been asked to do a theory book, you know, like a book of bass lines. And I got like halfway through, man. And I was like, man, I got nothing, you know? And, many years later, it took my friend Peter Martin said, "Come on, man, do it. Come on, man." And you know, I really have to say I learned a lot just from putting that together. You know, and thank you for being my training wheels.
And I just literally told them start the camera, and then I mean, you're such a natural at that. I mean, I think everybody, you know, when if it's from hearing you on NPR. Or any of the stuff you've done for Newport, obviously when you've got the bass, but I mean also with the bass, like you're so your personality comes out so well just because your technical and musical level is at such a high level that I always believe somebody the better they get at their instrument, the more they are themselves. And we know some assholes in the business that are really good, and it comes out sometimes, but they're so good you can't really, you know. But there's not that many actually. I mean, we're pretty blessed, I think, especially in the jazz and improv kind of world, because it does come out. But I think that, you know, you have such a welcoming vibe, just like now when we talk and when we hang, that I knew that was going to come across in terms of how you showed things. And if I could, I just want to tell a quick story. And this one I don't think you're going to remember, but when you did your course, you were like so relaxed about everything, and it was just like, man, we're just like moving through. We're going through so quick. I was like, man, I've got him for certain. I'm just gonna have to make up some stuff.
So we got to think of something, right?
or else he's got to fly out of here early, I guess. But we did some little promo videos, and I remember, I think I just told you about it while we were there. We were going to take a break. They had to do some stuff or whatever.
Yeah.
And, you were kind of like, just, still at your base. I said, man, can we do this promo? And you're like, yeah. What you're like, is it a live thing? I was like, no, we recorded. I said, we call it 2-minute jazz, but you can really just do whatever you want. And the only thing I gave you, you had said something in your lesson that you just recorded in that moment before about your sound is your signature. And you were talking about how important as a bass player sound, you're like time and all this. Yeah. But you got to have your sound. And then you just said, and I know you didn't plan this. You were just like, cause your sound is your signature. And I was like, well, write that down. Sound is your signature. Cause it's such a cool thing that you can take with you as a bass player. I thought.
That's right.
And so I was like, and so I said, why don't you do like just a 2-minute thing on whatever you want? And you were like, well, I don't know. What do you want? I said, you said sound is your signature. And you were like, oh, okay. And you didn't really seem that interested. And then you were like, all right, is it rolling? And everybody, this is a very there's other people there that can attest to this. I'm not compressing anything. It was this fast. You were like, is it rolling? I was like, everything rolling. We're in the studio. You started walking a bass line and you were like, your sound is your signature. There's a lot of things you can do to get a good, I know the video, to get a good sound. But I can tell you a couple things not to do. And then you went on this, and this is a famous video. This is like one of our most viewed promo videos ever.
Yeah, even Warren quotes it.
Right. Warren probably memorized it as soon as he saw it the first time.
Right.
But it's just so, like, I always tell people, I was like, because everyone's like, man, that's so cool how you scripted that thing out and got Christian and the different angles. I was like, we literally didn't talk about it. I said, sound is your signature. He did it. He came up with all that. It was one take and it was exactly 2 minutes. I don't know how you pulled that off. But I mean, it's just such a cool thing. I love like the video medium and when it's authentic, and when the sound was killing and you did something because you were talking and you were like, whoops, that was killing, man. And so,
well, thank you, man. I think doing a few things have helped me out. Doing radio so much over the last 10 years has really helped me out. Because there have been some times where I've had to, there I go. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I think doing radio so much over the last few years, there have been times where, I have to make a few things up on the spot. When I do my Sirius XM show, all of that stuff is pure improv. I mean, like I have like a little master list of certain points I want to hit, but most of that stuff is just purely improv. And just like it is with jazz, the more you do it, the better you get at it,
Right.
And I do have to say there's a big nerd in me that for years, I mean, like we're the same generation. So like everybody else, I was a huge Johnny Carson fan, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Now, not only did I find Johnny Carson entertaining, but I also found him pretty educational. Like much later on when I had to start learning how to improvise, I was like, okay, Carson would have done this, Arsenio would have done this, Flip Wilson would have done that, so that whole sort of comedic timing / radio pressure kind of helped me get better at improvising when I'm not on the bass.
Right. Yeah. Well, and I think that, what I've started to discover, even like you talk about the open studio and the whole business thing, like, man, being a jazz musician has taught me so much about life. Like we always talk about, we bring life to the jazz music, and I think we do, but like for me, I'm so grateful to this music and to be a part of it for so many reasons, just for the music. But it's also just made me like, improvising is like running a startup is all about improvisation and trying something out. And then like, we play something and we always say we're playing for ourselves, but we're listening to what the audience, you play the same thing every night and nobody claps. You're not going to be playing it that long.
Right.
And
that's right.
With the startup, it's like you put something out there, you might think it's the greatest thing ever, but if people don't respond to it, and jazz keeps us, we've traveled all over, and it's like you got to be a good improviser to travel. You don't know, the plane stops, something else happens, and so I think that it's funny because people think of musicians as being kind of out of it sometimes. I'm like, not the musicians I know and I've been around, some of the smartest people on the planet.
Oh yeah, man, totally.
Yeah.
Have you ever been in a situation? I always think about this because have you ever been on a gig where you got booed?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, not necessarily my solo, but yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
So,
The general vibe being booed.
right.
Yeah.
So when I was in high school, we had this band. We got booked. There was a girl in our band whose dad was a promoter. A promoter.
Yeah. Yeah.
He got us a gig in. He got us 2 gigs in Virginia, Newport News and Norfolk. And so I can't remember which gig was first. I think Norfolk was first. And so we go down there, we play this gig, and we had to take a funk band because it was like some sort of like a street festival. They was like, we don't want no jazz, we want the funk. So we put together like some little funk band. We had 2 singers, 2 guitar players. Anyhow, I guess we weren't funky enough. And man, these fools started throwing bottles up on stage, beer cans, potato chip bags. They was like, yo, go back to Philly. Y'all suck. Boo, boo. And I remember at that moment, I remember thinking, we better come up with something quick. We better come up with something they like now. Right. And I remember we had a singer who had a blonde wig, and she went into like some Tina Turner, started doing Proud Mary. That sort of saved the gig, but the whole notion of learning how to stop on a dime and make something out of, make something positive quickly. There's no better training than being on the gig and getting booed and have people throwing stuff at you.
Right. I'm just throwing a comment from Mark. Virginia's for haters for sure. Oh man, that's great. Well, it's funny too. You mentioned, and I'm throwing it out there to you guys. If you have any questions, if we get through all the stories we want to talk to each other about, we might take them. But no, feel free to put those in.
Was there chicken wire surrounding the stage? No, bro. It was outdoors. We were out in the open. We were playing like this.
Exposed.
Watch out, there's a bottle.
You're exposed.
That's right.
Okay, so it's funny you mentioned that you are a nerd, and that reminded me of a story. Man, you have such a great memory. Like those of you that haven't had the pleasure of hanging out with McBride, well, you can hear it on the radio show and in his talks and stuff. But McBride, and I said I was gonna McBreezy, because somebody asked me about that earlier. Like McBreezy, I've never heard that. I'm like, that's right, because that's an insider thing that I coined and only I can use.
That's right.
I decided I'm gonna give it to the world if anybody wants to.
That's your thing.
Yeah. No, but I always like, this actually doesn't go way back. Yeah.
Peter.
Well, for a long time, because when I met you, you were Chris McBride. Right. And so and then I remember like once we kind of reunited in New York and everybody was like, man, have you heard Christian McBride? I was like, no, but I know this cat, Chris McBride, who's killing. They're like, no, it's Christian McBride. I was like, his mama called him Chris. I'm gonna call him Chris.
That's right. Exactly. Yeah. But, I don't think I'm sure I've said this on the public record a couple of times, but everybody assumed my name was Christopher. So when they would want to get formal, they'd be like, oh, Christopher, it's really nice to meet you. I'm like, no, bro, it's Christian. And I played on my first record with Wallace Roney, rest in peace. We just lost him.
Yeah.
And Wallace said, how do you want your name to go on the record? I was like, oh, how do you think? Chris McBride. And then all of a sudden I went, wait a minute. Christian, make it Christian. And he was like, all right, cool, bet. Right. And so, that for all the pre-1990 people, they were all like, Christian, what's this Christian? Oh, that's my name. Right. But that's why I ended up using my whole name.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, well, the McBreezy, I don't even remember exactly how we started. It's not that long, but the whole thing is just like playing with Christian, hanging with Christian, talking with Christian. Anything with Christian is easy. So I was just like, McBride, easy, McBreezy. And that's all there is to it. There's really nothing deeper than that, but it's just authentic. But what I was going to say, when you mentioned being a nerd, okay, so you've also been, I think the reason that you're adapting so well to this kind of Zoom period and like, just doing, you got the cool background with the LPs and everything, is that back in, this has got to be 19, and you're going to remember this probably better than me. I think it was 95 We were in
Correct.
Japan,
Yep.
and we were doing a double bill, like 3-week tour, like an
Yeah, that's right.
yeah, double
Yeah.
bill, Benny Green Trio and Joshua Redman Quartet.
Yep.
And playing, like 40-minute sets back and forth every night. Exactly. Exactly. And we were hanging, maybe I said Blade and Chris Thomas, Josh, you and Benny. Like we were hanging in each other's rooms, getting kicked out by the security for listening to albums, every night. But I remember you were the first cat that I knew anywhere that had, and I don't know if it was like broadcast.com or something, but you were able to listen to like Phillies. You up in the middle of the night, you're like, yo, man, let's check out the Phillies baseball game. I was like, what are you talking about? Is it on TV? Like, no, it's on my computer. I was like, you got a computer in here? I was amazed that you had a laptop, man. Nobody had a laptop then. But you had tapped into the radio stations and stuff, man.
Right.
So like, the internet, you're OG on the internet for sure.
Man, I bought my first laptop right before we went on. Did I ever tell you Marianne wanted me to play in both bands on that tour?
I think I remember that. Right. I think there was some talk about that. Right.
I was like, no, I ain't doing that. I was like, Benny brought me over here, because CT was already on the gig with Josh at that point.
Right.
I was like, no, Chris is Joshua's new bass player. I'm not bumping him off the gig. No. Oh, this could be so great for your career if you play in both bands. I said, now, wait a minute. Now, this came up before when I was playing with Josh, and we were doing a double bill with Tony Williams. This was maybe 2 years before that gig with in Japan. So Tony, like Ira Coleman couldn't make the gig. So Tony asked if I could play with his band that night. And I went, oh, are you kidding? And Marianne was like, no, you're not going to look like some house bass player just playing with both bands.
Right.
I was like, oh, what? So fast forward to the tour in Japan. She's like, you should play with both bands. I was like, oh, so I can be a house bass player in Japan, but not back home with Tony and Josh.
It's both their bands, though, see.
Well, see, there you go. There you go.
There she is. Oh, man.
But, yeah, man. So I had a laptop for like a year before I knew what to do with it. I was just sitting there staring at it like, what I do with it? And it was a compact. It was a PC, and I was like, I don't know what do you do with this? Right click, left click. I mean, what's it for? So I'm looking buying all these books. Yeah, right. I'm buying all these books. Like these books aren't helping me, and so I went on the road with Alvin Queen. Of all people, Alvin Queen, he's the one that sat me down, and he said, "You see, I'm gonna show you how to hook this up. I'm gonna buy you a couple of discs, some floppy discs. I was like, some what?
Oh, is that where the tune? Is that where the tune? Ah." That's awesome.
So he couldn't pronounce disc, and it used to have me dying, man. He would go to like Staples and come back next day. He said, "Yeah, McBride, I brought you 3 new discs."
Oh, that's so awesome.
And so yeah, Alvin Queen, for all his soulfulness, he single-handedly showed me how to use my first laptop.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, we didn't. I mean, none of us had a laptop. Of course, I'd seen one, I think, but I just
signed me up on AOL and everything.
Yeah, I was gonna say, how did you even like? That was literally the first time I saw that it could be hooked up to something external. I couldn't totally conceptualize it,
Right.
And then the fact that you had the Phillies like broadcasting in English coming through, I was like, what? I was like, this dude has a magic box. He has a magic box in his room. I'm like, yo, Blade, come check this out.
Right.
Blade, like, he's still amazed by that, He still would be like, oh my God, this is incredible.
Does Blade even let me see. I don't think he has a laptop.
I don't think so. I mean, he amazingly has an iPhone now. Like that was
right. Yeah, it took him a while, right?
That was huge, yeah.
Yeah, Blade was still rotary phone till 3 years ago.
That's right. He was bringing a turntable on the road like 9 months ago.
Was it you that told me this story, man? It might have been Joshua. Wasn't Brian bringing like a like one of those old school reel-to-reel tape decks on the road?
Yeah. Yep.
Those things aren't light.
No. But not, I mean, everything he had was like, he would bring that, he would bring he'd get these art books.
Right.
Like, you know how you buy something heavy on the road, or we'll buy records, you gotta carry it around.
Right.
You got to do it. But he would like buy stuff at home and bring it on the road, like these big hardcover coffee table books. He's like, man, check out these Frank Lloyd Wright drawings, man. This is awesome. I was like, what? Old school.
You bring that big old heavy thing on the road, man.
Yeah.
I remember one time we were on the road with Pat. I'm sorry, not with Chick, and he got pickpocketed. I think we were in Istanbul or something like that. Mm-hmm. And this cat had they took his wallet. I think they took his passport. I can't remember. So he comes to the sound check that night like, yeah, man, these cats stole my wallet, man, and my passport. We like, well, Blade, we got to get you hooked up, man. We got to, get you a new passport and get your credit cards all canceled. He's like, no, I think it'll be okay, bro. I needed to get rid of that stuff anyway. It's just kind of spiritually just kind of hanging over me. I was like,
wow.
I was like, Brian, you need a new passport.
Oh man. No, I want forgive and forget.
No, it's okay, bro. I'll just get a new wallet.
Right. Oh, that's
I love that dude.
Oh, he's great. But when he goes dark, like, which he rarely, have you ever seen him go dark? Yeah, when he goes dark, it's like it's way down.
And see, that's that thing that people grossly misread with, like, it's like, I mean, I get this often. It's just like, Christian, are you ever unhappy? And I'm just like, no, when 9/11 happened, I grinned, like right now, coronavirus, I'm just like,
yeah.
So it's like, of course, yeah, I get unhappy, and I've seen Blade go there a couple of times. I mean, the first time I saw him go there, I was like,
I know.
Whoa.
Right.
Look out, Blade.
It's got a lot of meaning too, because you're not expecting it.
Right. Right. Yeah. First time I saw him, shout out to Brian Blade. Somebody going to screenshot all this and say, yo, man, he was talking mess about you.
We have to print it out and hand him a transcript on a big heavy ass transcript book or something.
So, yeah, we were somewhere in Europe, and Blade started yelling with the room service guy on the phone. I was like, whoa.
Right.
Look out, Blade. He's like, no, I like to, no. Don't yell at me. I was like, whoa.
It's like the one thing that tipped him over the edge, man.
Right.
Oh, all right. I'm going to throw up some questions.
Questions.
If you see something that you like, let me know. But bam. Bass Day.
What was the first tune I ever recorded on electric bass? Oh man, that's a doggone good question. I think the first time I ever made a record on electric bass was it was either one or the other. It was either with the vocalist Jeannie Bryson or the drummer Cecil Brooks III. I remember I did those records like back to back, and yeah, I played electric bass on some of both of those records, and those were from like 93 when we did those recordings. But yeah, that was the first time I ever recorded on the electric bass.
But the stuff you did on the first Josh album, that was 93.
That was 94. We did that. Yeah, okay. Right. Heading home.
That's right.
Right.
I was like, what? This cat's pulling out the pork chop. All right, we got one here from. Did I see M? What's up, Mboya? Let's throw this up there. Mboya, great pianist up in Canada.
What's going on, brother? Mboya Nicholson.
That's a good piano. That's a good anything name.
Yeah, dig it. Can I reflect a bit about Ray Brown? Man, I can't talk about Ray Brown enough, man. I was very fortunate to get to know him extremely well and play in a group that he created for myself and John Clayton called Super Bass. We did two albums together. And man, what can I say, man? Ray Brown was I can say this, like he was very proactive about finding out who like the young up and coming cats are. And he was always approachable and available for anybody that wanted to talk to him, you know. And he was I don't want to say he was an anomaly, but you know, like a lot of those older cats from that generation, they had that red. Some of them could be real gruff. Some of them could be quite unfiltered in not the most positive way. But Ray Brown was always a super nice. Well, no, let me take that back. Ray Brown could be curt. He could be curt and tell you the blunt truth, but he was never mean about it. You know what I mean? Rarely did I ever see Ray pop his cork. You know, I mean, I saw him get exasperated, which was funny. But yeah, Ray was always positive and just, you know, the greatest mentor anybody can have. You know, and it wasn't just bass players. You know, he mentored Benny Green, Diana Krall, Greg Hutchinson, Kareem Riggins. You know, when people talk about these great band leaders in the jazz, in the pantheon of these great leaders in jazz history, you got to put Ray Brown up there. I put him right up there with Betty Carter and Art Blakey. He waited much later in his career to do that, but when he decided to do that, he did it well.
Absolutely. And I mean, and such an impact in the years that he was doing that. It was like, maybe because he waited till he was later. I mean, it was just so intense with, I mean, Keezer talks about that. And I mean, just everybody who played with him. And I mean, I just got a chance to I did one gig and a couple rehearsals with him. And the amount of impact that had on me was, I mean, I couldn't even imagine how much more you could get from playing long-term. I mean, what I got out of that. I mean, I think about it a lot, you know, like
I didn't know that. What gig was that?
I did one night at the Yoshi's Oakland.
No kidding.
Yeah, and I was actually, I think Benny came back and played. Keezer had been playing, and remember he moved to Japan and was living over there. And he kind of was going to leave the band or whatever. And Ray called me, man. When I was in New Orleans and was like, man, I've been hearing great things about you, blah, blah, blah. You know, Hutch and I don't know, somebody else recommended me. And he's like, I want to fly you out to, you know, we'll rehearse some, maybe you'll play on the gig. We'll see what happens, you know. And I was like, and so, and it was such a, you know, I ended up not getting the gig, but I was still like, just to be around. I mean, Keezer came back and decided to still do it. And I think I wasn't ready. I mean, I was kind of ready. I wasn't ready here, but what he gave me in that, and it's funny how these things happen at a certain time. I mean, I still remember he laid down this concept on that I still use to this day. And have taught it many times on like, playing in different keys and the importance of hearing the bass line as a melody.
That's right.
You know, man, that thing was like, and I didn't understand at the time, but I remembered. I was like, I'm going to hold on to this and just keep processing it. Because you know how Ray was. He was never like, let me show it to you as a dry die. He's like playing and singing. He's like, all right, cool, let's move on. You know,
That's right.
Catch up. You know,
and never wrote any of those arrangements down, man. That was nuts to me.
Right. And yeah, man. So awesome.
Raymond Matthews Brown, miss him a lot.
Yeah, man. Ray. Who or what was the inspiration behind digging deep in the catalog behind the Parker's Mood album?
Yeah. That was a trio recording I did with our dearly departed brother Roy Hargrove and Stephen Scott, playing all of the music of Charlie Parker. The inspiration was the vice president of A&R, Richard Seidel at Verve Records, asking us to do that record.
Right.
That was the inspiration. You know, when we recorded that record, I think we did that record in 96, 95 and 96. 95, I think. You know, the Young Lions era was still peaking, you know, and it seemed to make sense to sort of put Verve Records 3, top young guys on one recording. So myself, Roy, and Steven did this record because the record company asked, and we had fun doing it. And then maybe 2 years later, there was a similar album in concept that I did with Mark Whitfield and Nicholas Payton, where we did the music of Herbie Hancock. So, every once in a blue moon, the record company will come up with a good idea.
Right. Well, and I mean, remember Richard Slidell and a lot of cats like that. It's like sometimes they're like, okay, we're going to do the music of Charlie Parker, but the twist is no drums.
Right. Yeah.
And
no saxophone. See,
no saxophone.
Playing Bird's music with no sax.
Yeah.
Dig it. Now, we'll do the Herbie Hancock record with no piano.
Sans piano, as the French would say.
That's right.
Yeah, and I think there was always a certain amount, but there was always a certain amount of like, we can get the young cast. I mean, they were going to go to Herbie and Chick Corea and be like, all right, I got a concept. I'm going to tell you how you're going to record. But we were all like, cool.
Yeah, right. That's right.
We get paid too? Oh, awesome.
Right.
Oh man. There was something.
I'll tell you one funny record from around that same time. It was kind of sandwiched in between all that. Was Jimmy Smith did a series of records, which were sort of modeled off of those old Blue Note Jam records he did, like The Sermon and House Party and all that kind of stuff. So Richard put Jimmy Smith. He like put all these cats in the studio with Jimmy Smith, and we just did like a jam session. And Jimmy was a trip. Oh my gosh! I think, man, I can't even tell the stories from the session, man. He was just so out. I remember he refused to play unless he had a 6-pack. Like each song we recorded had to have a 6-pack. So by the end of the day, there were like 48 beer bottles at the bottom of the organ. I mean, he was just drinking beer all day, man, talking smack, telling stories. Every time Richard get on the microphone, he'd be like, Jimmy, let's do another take. Jimmy, like, shut up, Richard. I ain't ready yet. Shut up. Leave me alone. Go back in the booth where you belong. I got this. We'd be like, damn, Jimmy.
Oh, that's so awesome. All right, let's see. Boom, boom, boom. I'm gonna skip the one about strings. We're here to talk about some music. Oh, this is good because I think I kind of know the answer to this, but Jam. What is it like playing with Herbie Hancock? What are the practice sessions like, or sound check before a performance?
What's it like playing with Herbie Hancock? Man, it's so sad. You can't even imagine, bro. It's like the worst thing ever. I actually haven't. I mean, like every time I've played with Herbie Hancock, it feels like it almost feels like a hit and run. Like I've rarely had a chance to play with him where we've had this like time to actually shed, get some charts together, and go play. I did that with him once. He took me to Japan with Jack DeJohnette in the summer of 2003. We did a trio tour, and we played like 6 concerts throughout Japan. And man, that was one of those situations where like after the final gig, it was just like, oh, can I please have another opportunity? I got to get this one more time. Yeah. Come on, Herbie, please put this trio together again one more time, But I mean, most of the cats that we play with, I will have to say, man, the flow of what happens is virtually no different than what happens with any other band. You go to sound check, Herbie gives you a chart, you run it down, right, and you play the gig. I mean, Herbie is definitely one of these Herbie definitely loves to allow room for mistakes or accidents because he feels like there's no such thing as that. That like a mistake, quote unquote, or an accident is just fodder to make some really killing music, you know. So it's not going to be too much over rehearsing, you know.
Right.
Y'all got the head. All right, cool. Next. Yeah.
Well, and I don't know if this is the last time you played with him, but definitely last time I heard you with him last year at Newport,
Yes.
on the trio gig. Like we were, I think, sitting on the side of the stage talking, and you were like, I mean, because Christian is the artistic director of the Newport Jazz Festival. I know that wasn't your first year, but it's still early, and like you were being pulled in every direction, you know. And then you were like, "Oh, I got to do a gig with Herbie right now." But we were kind of talking. You were totally relaxed, and Herbie kind of came over to you, and like people are hyped up. I mean, it's almost like let's go,
right.
Angry Mob, man, you know. But Herbie came over and he had like a chart, and you were kind of like, "Oh, cool. Now I'm gonna find out what we're doing," you know. Like, you know, as opposed to just having to listen. That, you know, it's like, wow, a chart.
Right.
And Herbie was like, "Hey, man, I don't know if you know this dude," and you were kind of like, "Oh, is he gonna spring like this new thing?" And it was Footprints.
What was it? No, it was finger painting.
Oh, it was finger. Okay. Oh, but you guys played Footprints first.
Right. That's right.
That's right. Finger painting. Right.
And fortunately, I knew it, so I didn't have to read it that much.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, like leading up to that gig, you know, Herbie comes up. I see him like right before we walk up to the stage, and he's like, "You know toys, right?" I was like, "Yeah, I know toys." Speak like a child. Yeah, I'm cool with that. Let's see. I was like total like jam session kind of thing, you know.
Right.
All that stuff is, is universal. The jazz musician preparation for a gig.
I mean, I saw it with like one finger snap, like a real book photocopied chart of it, like holding it one time. I was like, what?
what Sting holding what?
No, Herbie.
Oh, Herbie, yeah.
Herbie holding like one finger snap, like the chart, you know. Like the real book chart.
Yeah, we did one of those Monk Institute. I call it the artist formerly known as the Monk Institute.
Right.
That's the Hancock Institute now. But yeah, we did one of those things one year, and Joshua was on it. It was me, Joshua, Terry Lynn, and Herbie, and I want to say Clark Terry. And so we were playing Herbie Hancock, and we were playing One Finger Snap, and dude, it was so hilarious. He was like, Herbie went, "What's that chord there?" I was like, "Don't ask me. You wrote it."
Right. Yeah, I've heard other times. I've kind of heard other times where he's like, "Man, what is that? You know what that?" You know, he's just Well, I remember, man. I think talking about Newport last year, and then on Double Rainbow, that was like was that the first time you played with Herbie or recorded with him?
Yes. And man, I gotta say that was probably like that's definitely one of the top 5 most memorable recording sessions I've ever played on, man. Because one of our Desert Island recordings is Joe Henderson's "Power to the People" with Joe, Herbie Hancock, Ron Carter, and Jack DeJohnette. So we get to the studio, and there's Joe and Herbie and Jack, and I'm holding my bass like, why am I here? Like, I'm not supposed to be here. Oh, I know Ron was unavailable. Okay, right. Dave Holland was unavailable after Ron. Okay, cool. I'll take thirds, no problem. But yeah, man, just I remember Herbie completely reharmonized. What's the one? Yes, yeah. Herbie put some new changes on that, man, and each reharm was just it was like water splashing on us, man. And I remember after we rehearsed it with the new changes, Herbie, being the ultimate professional that he is, he looked up at Joe. He's like, "Hey Joe, is that cool? You like those changes?" And Joe just kind of started laughing, like, "Ha, yeah, they're fine."
Yeah, right.
Right. And yeah, man, that was heavy, and particularly to play with him and Jack together, and Joe, of course. This was just like woo, woo. That was like being called up to the majors.
Yeah. No, and I remember when you did that recording. I was like, I mean, you'd play with Freddie and a lot of cats. Like you were ahead of your time with everything. But then I was like, oh damn, but what turned out like that record, I think we were just talking about this last night because we did like a listening thing on Kenny Garrett's songbook. And I love that record. And I'm always like my top records of the 90s is always includes that and Double Rainbow. Like I think that record, I mean, everybody's playing Your Hookup. I mean, just the concept of the record. I mean, Joe's like just quiet leadership. And I'm sure he wasn't like, all right, guys, I want you to do this
right.
Joe Beam,
I think I told you this one story from that session, man. It was so hilarious because Joe was a man of very, very few words.
Yeah.
And so we were playing one song. I don't remember what song this was either, but we were running it down, and Joe wasn't digging the kind of groove I was putting on it. So Joe comes over to the bass and he says, "Hey, McBride, in order to do Joe Henderson, you got to always be pushing the glasses up, right?" He's like,
right.
McBride, that groove you're playing, I like it, but maybe you can give it like a little more of a. You see what I'm saying? Like do a little more like if you put like you know what I'm saying? Like put a little more. Like I dig what you're doing, but like just like you know what I'm saying? As I said, you want me to play another groove, Joe? He's like, right.
Oh, that's awesome. So awesome. Oh, Joe. Yeah, but that's a record, and a lot of young musicians, man. I've been kind of like talking about that record and that small group. I mean, a lot of great records in the 90s, but like that exclusive group, a lot of the young cats don't know about those records. So
yeah, man, there's some good records and I think there was some great records that came out in the 80s too, man. Like
absolutely
all those like Harrison Blanchard records, man.
Yeah,
and,
Black Pearl.
Oh man, those
I love that record.
Tony Williams quintet albums.
Yeah. Oh yeah, with Mulgrew,
Bobby Watson, Horizon, man, some good records.
And like every time I think, oh, well, that was just because we were listening to it right as we were getting into music. But I'll go back and listen to it. I'll be like, no, it's still killing.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, here we go. And we're gonna let Christian McBride exit in a second. I know we're going overtime, but I'm having fun.
No such thing as overtime with you, brother.
No, but I want to do this again too. I'm savoring this, and I actually forgot people were here. I'm sorry I got behind on stuff, but are there outtakes from the Philadelphia Experiment record? Also, how did that record come about?
Are there outtakes? Probably. I mean, that album was literally like sort of like cut and pasted together. I mean, like a guy I went to high school with named Aaron Levinson called me up, and this must have been in early 2000. And he said, "Hey man, I'm doing some producing, and how'd you like to do a record with your man Amir? That to all of you watching, that's Questlove." And and so I said, "Yeah, sure." He said, I got an idea in mind, just putting some Philly cats on it, like Uri Kane, Pat Martino, John Swanner. I don't really know what the music's going to be, but I just want to get you guys in the studio and just jam, come up with something. I was like, yeah, all right, deal. Now, of course, the Roots were already hot in 2000. So it wasn't like it was easy to get Amir for a session even then, you know. So they booked the studio for us in Philly. I drove down and we were in the studio for 2 nights. And I remember Amir was doing someone else's record at the exact same time. So he was going back and forth from studio A to studio B like every hour. And when he would come back in with us, we just come up with a groove, just come up with a jam, and we would just play. So Aaron and Andy Hurwitz kind of snipped all that stuff together. So I'm sure there's some stuff laying around that we didn't use. I mean, maybe not much, but you know, there might be at least one other tune or groove in there. We have like 3 live albums in the can, so we've never been able to get back into the studio to make another Philly experiment. But we recorded almost every live show we've played. We've recorded, so something will come out one of these days.
Awesome. Man, Christian, thank you so much. I just want to real quickly just to let folks know, if you want more Christian, he's a lot of places. Are you doing the Tuesday night for the Newport? On
yes.
The Newport? Is that every Tuesday?
Yes, every Tuesday at 7 Eastern on the Newport Jazz Festival Instagram page, and Friday night on Facebook Live for Jazz House Kids.
Facebook Live for Jazz House Kids, and we'll have links to this. And actually, if you go to check this out. You're gonna like this if I can get this happening. Bam. OpenStudio.com. Nick Breezy. We got show notes for today.
Dig it. I like it.
Yeah, there's a link, and of particular note is a link to the 3 writing pieces. The Stevie post today, the Nation piece, and the McCoy Tyner. And I highly recommend all of them, but the McCoy is just, I mean, I was crying. I was crying when I was reading that, man.
Oh,
I mean,
thank you,
tears of joy too, man. Tears. I mean, I miss him, but I mean, the love and the warmth that he brought to this world, you know, and that continues on. You captured it so beautifully. So thank you.
Hey, my pleasure, brother.
Yeah, man. And I was just thinking, yeah, I think we covered it all. We didn't talk about French Guiana, but that'll give us a reason to come back and we can tell our stories about being in French Guiana together.
Y'all need a set of vibes. What? Oh, we got vibes right over here. No, ma'am, those are marimbas. Oh, that's not the same thing.
Oh man, but I mean, you know, look, we've been. Didn't that happen in Bermuda too, though? Wasn't there a marimba?
That's right. No.
Or Bahamas, Bermuda. One of
those. We did both.
Yeah. But that's an island, so you can kind of get away with limited resources.
Didn't we go to wait a minute.
I think that was Bermuda though. Barbados, maybe.
Oh man, I gotta go back and find it. Yeah, and I remember when we got to the hall and they said, "There's your drum kit," and man, the drum kit was smaller than Terrion. And I remember I was like, oh man, what's he gonna do with that? And
it's going down.
Right. And they said, we got either this drum kit or that rock kit over there. I was like, oh man. Terrion looked like the Tasmanian devil. He started hooking stuff up
and that's exactly the vibe. The gentle giant for sure, but he'd be like, no,
right.
no.
I'm not playing that. Right.
That ain't happening. Later, peace. Tank out.
That's right.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna throw one more thing up here because I'm gonna feel so bad if I didn't. Hey, Mr. McBride, could you do me a huge favor? Say, I mean, people know it's a pandemic now. They can get us to do whatever we got to do. You know.
Yes, right. All right. Is that Det Willer or Det Weiler? See, now I feel bad. I'm Det Weiler.
Yeah, I'm gonna say.
And Riley, are they watching this? So look, if you asking them, can I do it? They can see up on the screen that you asking me to do it. So it's not special.
And then you're gonna be like, do I have to say it because it's on the screen?
Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Detweiler, shout out courtesy of Riley Williams. Yay!
man, that was so from the heart, man.
God. Can't wait to meet you.
And that's gonna be one of those things where like they weren't even on here, and then they're gonna be like,
Yeah, right.
"Oh, can you call them? If they don't answer, just." Oh, and next time we got to tell our stories about you have some great like the top 10 requests to get on the guest list of the Vanguard.
Oh, don't get me started. No, see, I had actually thought about making like a whole YouTube series on like guest list penalties.
Right. But I do think just to whet everyone's appetite for next time, I do think we went next level at the Vanguard in December when I can't remember who maybe it was somebody called somebody and said, yeah, put me down on the list for 3. I'll let you know if I'm gonna be able to make it or not.
Well, see, I remember playing at the Regatta Bar. You remember the Regatta Bar in Boston.
Yeah.
And of course, the club is inside the hotel, so it's easy to find the musicians. You just call the front desk of the hotel, say, "Hey, put me into Chick Corea's room."
Right.
And so the phone rings, and I pick it up, and say, "Hello, Christian McBride." I said, "Yes." "You don't know me, but I'm Donald Brown's 4th cousin, and I talked to Donald. And he said it'd be cool if I called and asked you to put me down for 4 on Saturday night, right, on early set."
Early.
Anybody with good sense knows that if there's one show you don't ask guest tickets for, it's right, Saturday early show. Right. That's the guaranteed sellout. It's like, right, first of all, you're right. I don't know you. And
I know Donald Brown, but I don't know like, you.
And second, I hadn't talked to Donald in like 10 years, so I'm a holler, please. And then, of course, when I told Donald, he was like, "No, I don't know who that was, bro."
But that's actually the perfect cover. Donald Brown's 4th cousin. That's the most. If they were like, "I'm Peter Martin's 4th cousin," you'd be like, "No, you're not."
Right.
Donald Brown, you're like, "Wow, maybe they might be actually." And Donald may have told them it was cool. You never know.
Yeah, No, but yeah, Donald was like, "No, bro, I don't know who that is."
So, oh man. Well, Christian, thank you so much. And let's see, we got anything else to shout out? Oh, the Movement Revisited. Is that your last? That's the most recent.
Yes.
I know you got like 17 in the can, but we're not going to talk about those.
Yes, you can find it at the low price on Amazon or macavenue.com for whatever price you buy CDs at these days.
That's right.
People
is it on LP
as well?
CDs? Is it LP? Is it on LP?
No. Only CD and digital.
Yeah. You know what? I bought a couple of CDs the other day randomly. Like this whole time has me sort of disoriented. And there's something, I don't know if it was a thing of like, I want to own the music again.
Right.
Right. But I was just like, I mean, they're so cheap. I'm like, how we were paying twice as much in the late 80s. $15, now you can get it delivered Prime the next day for $7.
Isn't that something?
Yeah.
Them big long boxes we used to use.
Those bad boys were not environmentally friendly at all.
Wasting all kinds of paper.
And they were covered in plastic also.
On top of it, right.
And wasn't there plastic on the inside too? It was like a Doppio situation.
Yeah, right.
And we were like just rip them off. Wow, where no recycling.
That's right. And then
we weren't woke. We thought we were.
And then we used to go to Japan and get all the stuff you couldn't find in the States.
Man, we were Disc
for the
Union.
real fans.
We were going to Disc Union.
Oh yeah, man.
Crazy.
I gotta admit, I still do that.
Yeah, I know, me too.
Yeah.
Man, Tower Records is still open in Osaka. Last time I was there, they had a tower.
Oh yeah. Tower's still open. There are 2 open in Tokyo.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So Tower's rolling.
Wow. Yeah, man. So thank you, Christian. Everybody check them out. Keep the community. I've been just saying one thing, which is like, we're all physically distanced and as we need to be, everybody stay socially distant, but let's stay spiritually connected as best as we can during this time. We stay together. The music connects us, the stories, the history. So thank you so much, Christian. And
thank you, Peter. Thanks for creating this and giving cats a platform.
Oh man, it's my pleasure. And the only thing at the end of these is always awkward, but I'm going to figure out a way. You know, at the end, it's like, ladies and gentlemen, Christian McBride, and then it's like, and then everybody signs off, and it's like, so we're going to be like, all the people saying, yeah, Christian, you know.
Yeah, that's right. You hate to click leave studio first.
I know. Right. And then you don't want to be this there. It's like, oh, okay, I'm still at the part. Oh, no, I'm gonna catch y'all next time.
That's right.
So yeah, thank you, man. We'll do it again. And thanks everybody for being here, man. We really appreciate you. Everybody stay safe and stay strong. And we'll see you next time.
Y'all be cool.
That's right.
Love you, Peter.
Love you too, bro.
Rap soon.
Peace.